What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of These Corona Times. It's great to be back with you all again for another week, and I'm smiling because my friends are hilarious. This has definitely been an interesting week, but this is a great topic for tonight. We're going to talk about radical self-care in these Corona times, and let me tell you, this Corona times is a form of self-care for me. So this is always a great way to relax. I miss it when we don't have it. Even though it takes work to pull the show off, I always think of this as a form of decompression.
Is it really work though?
It's a little bit.
It is a little bit. Yes, it is, Brandon.
Because y'all keep carrying the heavy load. Maybe that's what it is.
The problem is it's so effortless for Brandon. So
Listen,
you have to work.
This just comes naturally to Brandon. He comes with the ideas, like he's on it.
You know what?
And so,
I shouldn't even open my mouth.
You walked into that one.
I did.
Exactly. So we want to thank you all for being with us another week. We appreciate it. If you have not done so already, please like our Facebook page, These Corona Times.
Please do it. We were laughing before this, so that's why
we're cracking up.
Yeah.
Carried over, spilled over into the live recording. But yes. And you can tell we just have a good time together. So thankful for this form of self-care. But again, if you have not done so already, please like our Facebook page, These Corona Times. Please follow us on YouTube at These Corona Times. We continue to like, share, comment. We had a great time engaging with you all on last week's episodes. We talked about something extremely difficult. So since we kind of had such a heavy conversation last week, we're going to try to have a bit of a lighter one this week. Still educational, still informative, but hopefully the discussion points are just a little bit lighter this week.
And this is episode 19, right, guys?
Yes, sir. Yep, wow. 19.
I cannot believe that. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. That is insane. But you're right. We had a really heavy topic. We had the verdict, the charges or lack thereof come up. What day was that? Was that Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday. And the rest of the week after that just kind of turned on slow-mo for me, like slow motion. I was not okay. And so self-care was a big part of the conversation for me and my colleagues at work. And so, of course, that spilled over into these Corona times.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. Where do you want to go next? Checking in. Of course, I can't remember my self-care. Why do I always forget my self-care? Tiffany's the only one.
I'm the only one that documents my self-care from week to week.
Man, listen, I just know what mine is.
We know what yours is too, Brandon. Go to bed.
Right, read.
Oh, no, it was read a book
no.
Was it? I think it was read a book this time.
Y'all, I gotta go get my...
reading. It was just reading.
I gotta go get my book. In general.
Your book? Yes. Oh, yeah. Simone's got a book of her own.
Anyway... Go ahead. How did y'all do with y'all self-care? I'll get my book later. Of course, I'm not prepared at all. I don't have it with me. But, Brandon, how did you do?
No, I did good. I did really well with it. I didn't necessarily read a book, but just like taking the time to just read stuff like online publications and whatnot. Like I enjoy that. Also got into reading a little bit more of the Bible. This week I'm reading the book of Acts, actually. Mm-hmm. It's the... actually talking about how the church was formed and everything. So it's actually pretty cool reading.
I'm proud of you. I can't even joke on you. You was reading the Bible.
See, I'm on chapter 9 or 10, I believe. Yeah.
Oh wow, he was deep in there.
I know. Keep up the good work, sir.
But I'm gonna tell you this, and I know this is kind of off topic. Like, I've been challenged to read the Bible for myself a little bit more this year. And it's funny, man, the stories that we were told, like that was like my main reference for a lot of the Bible. And a lot of those stories weren't told properly.
Mm-hmm. No.
Like, at all.
You have to remember, we've had not just how it was told to us, but you also have various movies, Prince of Egypt, and there's different forms of Ten Commandments. And we've watched those for years, and we think that's how the story goes. And I was even surprised to learn that there was 2 times that God actually parted the Red Sea, and not just the one that we hear about in the story of Moses. Yeah. Not to get extremely biblical.
Well,
but that's really like I've been reading. Just I'm not saying I'm going to read the whole entire Bible, but I think that's kind of like instead of doing like devotionals, which I think are important, just really kind of because devotions are built off the actual book of the Bible.
Right.
So I'm going to try to go to the book of the Bible first, and then try to see if somebody's devotional will have me think about what I read in a different way.
Right.
So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I was actually taught not to read the devotionals. My great grandfather was, I would call him a Bible scholar, and he was like, "You don't need that devotional. You just need the word." So I was told not to read the devotionals. But to your point, me and Kaden we do a devotional every morning, and then we'll actually read the story in the Bible. And we read about Samson, and I was like, "Whoa, Samson was wilding." He really was.
Wow.
What we know, what we're taught is just a teeny little bit. He was out there.
Out in these streets.
Down the streets.
he was not letting that hoe go early. He was.
Oh Lord. Okay, so I don't know what my self-care was, but
the part that makes my job hard having to edit Brandon out. But I'm not gonna do it this week. I'm just gonna let it ride.
So I don't know what I said I was gonna do, but I did read. So I got the Mary Trump book, and so that has been a very interesting read to just hear about the inner workings of y'all's president in his early childhood. So that's been my self-care. It's a little escapism for me.
I don't recognize him. Okay. So mine was to go to bed early and try to get up early, be a bit more on a schedule. That was fine, even though I didn't get to achieve my goal of making it down to the building as much as I wanted to this week. It all seemed to work out very well. Went to bed a decent hour, got up fairly early this week. And like Simone, after Wednesday, it just seemed like everything else was on autopilot for me. So it was a lot of back-to-back meetings this week. So just running on fumes, I think, for like Thursday and Friday. But other than that, it was pretty good. I need to try to continue this rhythm because we have to go back to some normalcy of work sometime. Right now we're all anticipating maybe January getting back on a more regular schedule that's not so hybrid. So I have to prepare for this to end sometime. I'm getting a head start on returning to normalcy.
Whatever that looks like.
Whatever that
normalcy looks like. So like we've been doing for the last several weeks, acknowledging a Black leader in our community. So this week we are highlighting my personal friend, Dr. Darlene Davis of Parent Zone LLC. So at Parent Zone LLC, we know all about the stress and challenges parents face daily, the limited time set aside for rest and relief, and the few spaces that center to the emotional and supportive needs of the parent or caregiver. So that is a statement that's on the website. And at Parent Zone, their motto is parenting is about practice, not perfection. So me and Darlene, we met during our graduate training. We didn't go to school together, but we went to school alongside one another. And she's a wonderful clinician, and she's very skilled at working with children, adolescents, and also parents. So the website is parentzonellc.com. And if you go to the website, you can see that they have parent support groups. There's a resource page, also hashtag parenting in a pandemic resource page, virtual emotional support sessions. She also does parenting support consultations, and she has also started doing some Facebook live chats. She's a wonderful resource if you are struggling during this pandemic trying to parent your children. So we definitely want to highlight her business and the wonderful work that she is doing and has done. And I think we're going to put up a flyer with more information about her business. So Parent Zone LLC. I text her regularly, like, Darlene, come get him. Come get Kaden. And she does children. What'd you say?
That's not the services, and she doesn't come and take your child.
But she's my friend, though, so I trust her. And she does children and adolescents, so like up to 17 and even the little ones. So wonderful resource.
Do they provide assistance for uncles and aunties as well?
It says caregivers, so yes, because everybody's not a mom or dad. Okay. So caregivers.
It's a village.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. The village
Yep.
needs support too.
And you can find, I don't know if I said this, but you can find her, of course, at the website, but also on Facebook as well. So,
yeah. All right, Brandon, it's your turn. You know, do what you do naturally,
orientation.
Bro. Orient us,
is
friend.
needed.
You know what? So, this week we're talking about radical self-care. And that's a huge, huge deal for a lot of us, for everybody in general, but especially, Black and brown folks, man. Like over the last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So last 5 days, it's been pretty, it's not shocking or anything like that, but it's just been pretty stressful overall. Just being reminded about how Black lives really don't matter and things along those lines. But self-care is very important. And the crazy thing about it is we may not be working in a building. We may not be sending our kids to school in a traditional way. But if you look at it, and I've heard recent reports of we're actually working harder now. We're working harder in our meetings. I was listening to NPR, and a teacher was saying how she's doing her lesson plan, and then she's working on the presentation for the lesson plan because it has to be done online. So for those that have to do Zoom meetings or Teams meetings or Google Meet meetings all the time, there's just so much extra work. And then on top of that, you have frontline workers who have to basically work absurd schedules, and our stress levels are to its peak. We're having to do all of this Corona stuff on top of work, parenting, caregiving, and maybe even taking care of someone who has been affected by Corona. So it's just all just coming up. So we want to do an episode on how to take care of ourselves, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to take care of others. We're not going to be able to parent properly. We're not going to be able to tend to folks on a different basis. We may be short with our spouses. I'm guilty. We may be short with our kids. So if we don't take care of ourselves, though, a lot of those things will start to kind of
fall to the wayside. Just fall off.
All just go straight down. So we wanted to have an episode on self-care, how you do it, some, I don't want to say misconceptions, but kind of thoughts behind self-care, and maybe some biases and things of that nature about it as well. So really.
So how are we defining self-care? I think Brandon was Brandon, I think you said, what is the definition? I was like, I wonder, I mean, I'm sure we could look it up or whatever, but when y'all think of self-care, what do you think of?
Taking care of myself.
Well, I think it, everybody's definition is going to be different, but I think it's really removing yourself from a stressful situation for a short period of time to regroup.
So the overall thought is the same, like you're essentially taking care of yourself, but I guess how you do that is different. And we talked about that a little bit this week. Like, to some people, self-care is like going to a salon or getting a massage. And to other people, self-care may just be sitting in silence for a day or, a few hours or whatever, just really kind of zoning out. So it looks, the way it looks may be different to everybody, but I guess the overall concept is you're doing something to take care of yourself.
So I was looking around at articles, and we thought about this idea of radical self-care, and this kind of struck me because it kind of is counter to how I think about self-care. When I think about self-care, I think of, okay, let me get other folks situated and out the way so that I can take care of the things that I want to do. And so this definition I found, I think it was on Psychology Today. Yeah, psychologytoday.com. It means not just tending to yourself after everyone else's needs are met. It means actually moving self-care up on your priority list. It means overwhelming yourself with love and appreciation. And I was like, whoa, that's
real,
interesting.
actually. That's real.
That's very, Yeah, like not waiting until everybody else is good, saying I need to be good just like they do. So I'm gonna go ahead and move myself on up the list.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that women are not socialized to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not at
So
all.
I know part of our thoughts about this too was just to get to a place where we're normalizing self-care. Because even talking about it, like talking like what Simone just said, somebody may say that sounds really selfish, but is it to put yourself sometimes before others? And I know Simone, I'm a wife, but Simone's a wife and a mother. So sometimes you always have to like think about putting your kid at the top of the list and make, like she said before, it's making sure the other people, the others, and I assume by others she meant her son and her husband, make sure they are good or she can do something for herself,
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes that's how we have to approach self-care. I have to make sure that they're okay. They're over here by them, doing whatever they're going to do so that I can do something that I want to do.
One of the things that I wish I came up with it, but when somebody was explaining to me self-care for the first time, they used the airplane analogy. And when you are in an airplane and you start to get to take off and you're taxiing down the runway and the flight attendants are going over the protocols of what to do, they tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then put it on everybody else. They don't say put the oxygen mask on your row and then put it on you. It's you put on the oxygen mask first, and then you're able at that point to help other people. And it was like, whoa, that's
the whole sermon right there.
It is.
That'll preach right there, man.
I don't know if Brandon can preach it, but it will preach.
Listen.
I think he could preach it. It's in his blood.
He's been shying away from the pulpit. He's back away.
You said shying away from the pulpit?
Right.
You've been reluctant.
I have preached a sermon before.
2 sermons in 10 years. Okay, look.
I haven't been asked to do more than that, have I?
Folks, we have gone off the rails. Okay. Brandon, listen, you're ahead of me. I will never ever preach a sermon. So you will have always preached more than me. I won't ever do it. Anyway.
You said that now. We're gonna keep working on Simone because she be dropping gems sometimes.
It's not.
She do be dropping gems.
It's not what I'm going to be doing. What I will do is talk about self-care. That's what we're supposed to be doing. No, but you make an excellent point.
I think that's a big deal. I think it's a really big deal of putting yourself first. I know I'm guilty. I don't do that at all. And I know for women, especially Black women, Black women are known and seen as the strong women. So self-care for a lot of Black women it's like last on the priority list.
Yeah, and I think going back to that example though, it's so good because if we put the mask on everybody else, then what will happen to us? We're gonna pass out. We're gonna not have any oxygen, and then how? What'd you say, Tiff?
I had no strength left to make it. You're gonna put the mask on the pilot, the flight attendant, everybody around you, and then time's gonna run out.
Exactly. So where does that leave us?
That's usually what happens in life, though. We make sure everybody else is good and okay, and by the time it's time to have self-care, it's like 3 hours left in the day, and you're rushing to.
But Brandon, do you feel differently about taking self-care than maybe, because I know when Jamaica was on, she was saying, I'm not good. She specifically said, I'm not good at self-care. So do you think you have an easier time with doing it, maybe because the standards or expectations are different for men or fathers?
Yes. Yeah, I'll go with that. And what we as men probably, and I'll speak for myself, I won't speak for other men. We did a lot of things that were self-care, but just didn't call it that. Going out, me, I have one of my best friends is my Uncle Ken. And for a while, we would go out and we would go out to eat, at the end of the week. Pretty much every week I got off work late he got off work late, we'd meet up, we'd have fun, we'd eat, we'd talk, and that was self-care. We didn't say it was self-care, but that's what it was. I think it's always going to be easier for men in a patriarchal situation to do those types of things, because women are supposed to be nurturing and all of those things, and now the new woman is also really doing her thing in the professional world as well. So there's two different stressors, and it's easy for women to put themselves last. So I definitely will say it's a little bit easy. And I also say, you know, growing up, my upbringing made it a little bit easier for me as well. My dad has these 2-3 buddies that he's been best friends for 40 years. And I remember growing up, they would go deep sea fishing. They would get a boat, I believe off of Florida, and they would go fish. And my dad would dip out. We'd see him in a couple of days, and that was what he did. My dad has a very stressful job, and so for me, I learned at a young age that it's okay to do those things. So that never was really an issue for me. But now that I'm a father, a husband, and things of that nature, I have to learn how to weave that in.
So there's probably a lot of things that we do that we don't call self-care. Like, we don't name it, but you probably are doing things to kind of take care of yourself. Like Brandon said, getting together with Ken, you know, on a regular basis. He didn't call it self-care, but he was doing something to help take care of himself. Going to the movies, you know, hanging out with your friends, going to dinner or whatever. You may not call it self-care, but that is you taking some time to do something for yourself. But in this episode, and talking about radicalizing it and prioritizing it, I think it's making a conscious decision, right? Because I think we do some of that stuff unconsciously. You know, like when Simone lived here, we would try to go out to dinner like once a month or something, or hang out once a month. And that was like just we just get together. It's an unconscious thing. But consciously, if we were to say that was good self-care.
And I'm sorry, Tiff. I think
I was going
to say something else.
I was going to ask a question, but I don't want to get off if you were going to say something else. Because I was going to ask, like, how, with all that we are talking about self-care, like, this week has been a really dramatic week. Like, started on a high and, you know, been kind of on edge, and now we are where we are. How have, other than the self-care that we designated for ourselves last Sunday, what have you done to take care of yourself since Wednesday, like, in the face of all this stuff?
Well, I'll say what I was going to say and answer that, because they kind of go together. So after everything happened with the, you know, hearing the decisions they made with Breonna Taylor's case, the next morning, I mean, that day, we all three of us from the Polos talking about it and just kind of venting a little bit and trying to understand and blah, blah, blah. And so then the next day for me, when I woke up, I was like on slow motion, you know, like a slow-mo movie. I couldn't get myself going. And so my work is very supportive. And so they really advocated for myself and other folks who were struggling with the decision to kind of take the morning off. And they created another Zoom for us to be able to come together and speak with one another, as opposed to going to this other meeting we have every other week. So some folks did that. I just decided to lean out of that altogether and spend time with my family and took a walk outside, because I felt very stuffy and heavy and just almost like just kind of foggy, you know, and I knew that was like a manifestation of just the grief and the anger and sadness all mixed into one. So that is what I kind of did. And what I was going to say that ties with that is that when you do practice self-care, radical self-care, is that there's almost always a cost. Something else, you know, has to go. You can't do something else. So for me, there were important things I needed to talk about or to hear about on the other meeting that I missed. But that's okay, because my mind needed a rest, and I had to just prioritize my well-being. So it is what it is. Whenever you take care of yourself and make a decision to kind of leave some other stuff hanging,
Mm-hmm.
Other stuff is going to fall off, but sometimes that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have any thoughts, Brandon?
The gym is fitness in the gym really are my self-care. It gives me a chance to blow off steam. It gives me a chance to do a lot, and that's for any situation. You know, I've had a fairly tough time during Corona, you know, not being able to see people and things of that nature. So the gym has definitely helped out quite a bit. Staying away from, let me not say staying away from, but not engaging much on social media
Mm-hmm.
has helped out, you know, a lot. Still doing kind of my reading about the situation, but not necessarily having to comment on everybody saying you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. You know. Right. That's, you know, those types of things. I've tried to keep it lighthearted. You know, I've been, you know, reading a little bit more. You know, what I was talking about earlier. But like Simone said, there may be a little bit of a cost with all of that, because for me, I had to become distracted by something else, so I may not be as engaged with what's going on here in Louisville as much as I could be.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, because I'm trying to, you know, protect myself. So that could, you know, there's always a cost, but I think in the end, for my sanity, for me to work like I know I need to work, it was a cost that I was okay with paying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Tiff?
Well, Wednesday was rough. You know, when I found out the decision was coming that day, and I think it was announced maybe around 11 or so that it was going to come around 1:15 or 1:30.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like on pins and needles. You know, it was almost like how you feel, Brandon, when new Jordans are coming out and you're trying to get them at the 10 a.m. drop, you know, because you're like,
listen, no.
I don't know nothing about that.
That's how
I'm done with y'all.
Simone's like,
don't be like that, Simone. I was just like, surely, you know, like there's this feeling in the back of your head because we're Black and it never pans out, you know, the way we think it's going to be. There's always that feeling too. But I just wanted to be hopeful. Like I didn't want to be disappointed. And,
sure,
you know,
did
sure
have
enough.
A little bit of hope, didn't we?
Yeah. And sure enough, you know, when the verdict came down, it was kind of confusing. So at first I think me and Simone were talking and I was like, so wait.
Where's the rest of it?
Yeah, we were like, wait, more? Is there? You got something else? And she was like, no, we're done for the day. You know, the judge was like, no, that's it for the day. And I was just like, what? There's no more?
That was so that was wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
Woo!
So
here we go.
Then it just was like the realization that nobody was going to be charged for Breonna Taylor's murder set in. And I was just like, wow, I cannot believe in 2020 that we care more about drywall in apartment buildings than we do about the lives of Black people. So Then it was just, and I was down. Like I probably shed a few tears, just the realization that it's sinking in that nothing's, so far at this juncture, nothing's going to happen to these people. So it was definitely depressing. I feel like everything was slow. Like I was just going to sit on the couch and chill, but I ended up going to the gym too, just because I needed some kind of release, something to take my mind off of it or to point my anger elsewhere. But then waking up the next day, it was the same. It was just, the day was a fog. My cousin Cheyenne was saying that she was in a Zoom just trying to hold it together, like in another meeting, and she was just trying to not cry and not be angry and upset. And I was just like, I'm checking out after this last meeting because I can't do it anymore today.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot. And then even being in this, I know we're gonna jump down and talk about this later. and my white friends, my wonderful white friends, I don't want you to be offended by this at all, but understand that on Wednesday, it was really hard to be around white people after this happened. And shout out to the allies, shout out to the people who are out there marching right beside us in this event. Shout out to the churches that are opening up for sanctuary, all of that good stuff. But it was just really hard to be in that space. And I wanted to share something that one of our mutual friends, I think he mentioned it to Simone too, but he texted me and he said, how do I, as a 60-year-old Black man, face and go through today like it's just another day? I saw the same crap growing up, living with curfews and under martial law for the same racial stuff. And now in 2020, I live in a city and country that says it's okay to shoot Black people who are asleep in their own homes. He said, I'm angry. And he said, I'm glad I'm working from home today because can't be around white people today.
Hard.
And I think that's part of radical self-care, is being able to say that and take up more space in these different meetings and things and with each other. That same, I think it was the next day or a Friday, I was talking to my supervisor who is a white woman. And I said, you know, I didn't want to come to that meeting and it's hard for me to meet with you right now because I'm really not wanting to be around or communicate with white people right now because I'm so angry. And I know, you know, it's not, you know, I know where you stand on these issues,
it's not your fault.
It's not right. But during stuff like this, when it feels this heavy, I just want to be around people who identify with me in a very particular way and other Black people. And it felt awkward to say that, but it felt good to say that because normally, like 5 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. You can't say that. And so that I think that is a part of radical self-care. And also, even though this stuff is heavy on us, right? I mean, it's this, you know, these election woes. Like, I have been putting boundaries up with people. I don't want to hear, I don't need to hear every press release. I think Trump did some kind of something today. I don't want to hear it. Don't come to me with it. And I've had to say that to people is, you know what, let's talk about something else because I feel my pressure rising. And you may step on toes, but that's okay because I can't take it all in. It's too much, it's too heavy, and it's all coming at us all at once.
I feel the same way as you feel, Simone. It feels weird to say that, but I think it's settled in for me this week of why I felt that way. And it's because as well-meaning as white people are during this time, there's always a little hinge of, I hear what, I understand this is wrong, but, and I'm afraid of the but because I don't want to have to combat something that you're going to say, you know,
right.
I'm always waiting for that. Well, you know, there's some issues around the ex-boyfriend and, you know, the crowd and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like,
well,
I can't with that.
That you keep.
Yes, because I know that in a space with other people that look like me, it's safe here. We're all essentially feeling the same thing. You know, we're feeling like we don't matter very much. We're feeling like this is just another person, a Black person that's not going to receive justice for a crime that was committed against them. That's kind of a universal feeling amongst your Black friends right now. But then when I get into a space where white people are, there's just that you can feel my pain, but you can't really feel where I'm coming from.
And white people are wild cards when it comes to stuff like this. You don't know.
You don't know where they stand.
You don't know where they stand. And, you know, if you're fortunate to have, you know, white folks who feel the same way, great. But, you know, it's, you know, white folks who will come up to you when you're already feeling a little bit and then will start coming just, and she was hanging around rough people, like.
So, I mean, part of the self-care, and we talked about this before in previous episodes, is we're kind of still reeling and healing from some events. So sometimes if I'm coming to a space to work, I just want to work.
I want to work.
I just don't want to. I don't want to talk about it right now. And I know that it's weighing heavy on your mind. You want to speak about it. You want to say get on your soapbox and say your 5 cents about how it's wrong or whatever. That's awesome, but I'm trying not to think about it right now.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
So it's,
That's exactly right. That's exactly. I'm coming here. I'm coming to do my job, and I'm coming to leave.
Yes, and we get to decide how and who we talk about these things with. Like, I don't want to talk about it with you at work, but when I get on the phone with you all or the polos, then I'll talk about it because I feel safe. and I feel like, validated. And so, I know we talked a lot about how in our meeting, how self-care looks different. Like, I don't know about you all, but growing up, what was modeled for me, first of all, was that there is no self-care because we had to work so hard and be two times. We had to be 2 times better, and and all of that, right? So they're like, I'll work when I die. I'll sleep when I die.
Right.
That's when I die, right? So that was like initially the message that I got, and then later on was, self-care is taking a spa day, going to get your nails done, going to get a massage. And a lot of that stuff, people ain't got money to do that. I can't drop money like that. There's COVID out there, so you don't know if people taking proper precautions, and that that may not be accessible to everybody. So how do we take care of ourselves in different ways that are just as valuable and more accessible to more people?
Yeah, and I think for me, it's really, and a lot of times as you get to be an adult, the things that you enjoyed doing as a kid fall away because you're so busy in the rat race. But I think you have to really get back to what makes you, what's that one lady that does the whole cleaning out, what brings me joy?
Oh, yeah.
But you really have to start thinking about, like, what really makes me happy? And I know for me, the gym, genuinely, I feel so much better after the gym. Tiff, you talk about, I think you do your workouts at certain times during the day, and you're feeling better after those. I know the gym makes me feel better. I know reading makes me feel better. I know joking with people on social media makes me feel better. I know watching movies makes me feel better. So really taking those things that that make you feel better and figuring out how to really put them into your life.
Yeah. Let me share my radical self-care with y'all today. This is what I did, and I talked about feeling judged with y'all. Number one, for like taking self-care anyway, because as a mom, I feel like I'm supposed to be tuned in. Like, I'm supposed to know what Caden's doing. I'm supposed to know what he's eating. I'm supposed to sit with him in his class. I know, right? I don't know all the answers to these things, and I'm trying to become more okay with that. But so today, everything with Breonna Taylor's case happened, and then we were together yesterday. We had church outside, and so that was cool. But it was also stressful because, kids running around. So today I said, listen, I need to go because I'm working at home. I left the house. I left Sean and Kaden, and I went to my office. I went to the workplace. And the building was empty. It was quiet. I had my music on. I was doing my work. And for me, like, that was self-care. I felt so good. I was working, but y'all know I multitask. So I was doing polos. I was doing a million things at once. But it was just my own little space. Caden hadn't ate. I don't know what he ate. I have no idea. I don't know what he did.
Like, even the solo drive in is a form of self-care because, like me, I'm not really a happy-go-lucky morning person. I'll talk to you in the morning, but I'm not extremely happy about it.
Will you talk to us in the morning, though, Tiff?
I do talk to you all in the morning, all the time. Why are you acting like that?
I don't feel welcome, though. I don't feel wanted. I don't feel like you want to really communicate.
It's not Joe you in
it's
the
like
morning.
11 o'clock for her.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the house, we don't wake up like that, because sometimes, when Joel wakes up, he just pops up. He's like Simone in ways, but he just pops up. He's ready for talking. He's talking about this, talking about that, and I'm just like, I just need a couple hours of quiet when I wake up in the morning to kind of settle my thoughts and get ready for the day. So, we were talking about early in COVID how much we missed the drive into work, because it's like 20 to 30 minutes where you just get, by yourself with the radio. And I don't know if you all, I pray in the car a lot on my way. So it's like opening dialogue we got on my way into work. So I was missing that. And when my boss had said something like, we're talking about going back in the building halftime, because we're not in fully yet. And she was like, you don't have to come so much. If you, just a couple days. I'm like, I value the time. I need the time and I need space. because working at home is really nice, and it's just two of us. We don't have as many distractions in the house going on, but it's not. I need to be able to kind of spread out and have my own space. And again, that's also a form of self-care, because if not, I'm going to be sitting here on this spot, in this couch for hours doing spreadsheets and all kinds of stuff. And I'm supposed to be at home, chilling. I'm not supposed to be here still doing stuff at 7, 8, 9 o'clock.
Right.
So.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. When I got back, I was ready. I was happy. I was in a good mood. I felt lighter. That lump in my chest or throat was gone.
Yeah.
Not my chest, in my throat. No lumps in my chest.
Throat.
Sorry. The heaviness in my chest and the lump in my throat was gone.
So some of the stuff that I do for that, Simone, you talked about like inexpensive things that you can do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just not turning the TV on. Just listen to podcasts or music for the day. I did something today that required a little bit of money, but it doesn't always have to. I did a little retail therapy, but you can just go window shop. You don't have to buy anything.
I'm telling you,
that's what I do.
One of my favorite gospel artists is Fred Hammond, and I played a couple of his albums, and that was my self-care right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was like, man, this is good music. I was able to listen to it before I started working and during work, and it really just kind of kept
your spirits
centered for a little bit, and that was just self-care. So I think too, we think of self-care in an all or nothing aspect. I'm either getting a massage and
it's gotta be fancy
and sending the kids to their grandma, or I can't do self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And those little small things of self-care really do add up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brenda, I remember that day you was on the polos. I was like, why is his music so loud?
So loud. And I think he was singing.
So loud.
Was he dancing or singing?
He came on singing. I was like, what is going on?
There's a lot happening. I wanted to go back to something Simone said earlier about how when she was younger, self-care wasn't modeled for her. And I think we've had this discussion in a separate instance, but I feel like the thoughts around self-care is a generational divide. I don't like to use that term a lot because sometimes it's thrown in places that don't need to be.
Generational differences.
Yes.
Yes.
And I just think about in my own family, like if I call them mental health days. So occasionally once a month or something, I may take a mental health day. And my grandmother would be up in arms about it. She was like, will they fire you? Can you take off? Can you do that? I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I'm not misusing any company time or anything. I'm, legitimately taking a vacation day, but I'm not really going anywhere. I'm just really taking that day to not do any work, to not, be stressed out over meetings and emails or whatever. I'm just taking the day to myself. Now, my mom definitely modeled self-care for me. She's all for it. She's all for it. Go to get your nails done, go shopping, go out to a nice lunch or whatever. But I can tell, there's a good 20 years in all those spans there, between my mother and grandmother, and then again between me and my mother. But it's on the older end of the scale. I think it's like Simone said, they have this mentality of I will rest when I retire. That's when my self-care comes in. And on the lower end of the spectrum, I really think self-care as a term wasn't really normalized for me, maybe until this generation that's coming up behind us. I feel like they really embrace self-care. I mean, even so much where they have a hashtag self-care Sunday. Just really taking care of, trying to make a time to take care of themselves specifically. And I feel like as millennials, and I hate using that term too because I also misused and thrown around in wrong ways, but that's what we are as millennials. I feel like we overwork ourselves. And I can't speak for everyone in that generation, but I will speak for these three here in this circle. We often talk about how we overwork ourselves, or we also talk about some of the disadvantages of doing good work. So when you do good work, it means people ask you to do more work. And sometimes we don't know how to say no to that. So I feel like we as this end of the generation of generational spectrum, we don't do a great job of prioritizing ourselves. Do y'all feel that way as well? Or is it just a solo.
I do for a fact. It's going back to that older generation. All that older generation. I'm talking about like maybe our grandparents. All they knew was work.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they knew. That's fresh. That's fresh off Jim Crow.
Yeah.
That's fresh off a lot where you had to work. Where your wages were so low that you worked an 8-hour job, and then you probably worked another 4-hour job on top of that to make ends meet. You really had to work that. And it's funny, fast forwarding now, when you look at, we may be making more money, but student loans are there. Child care is more expensive now. It's just really crazy. I'm having to work to do what I'm doing for childcare. My childcare is as much as my mortgage. Every month, and so that's a big deal. We are overworking ourselves, I believe.
And Tiff, I just want to say that your grandmother's potato salad is self-care in and of itself. That potato salad is self-care. Seriously, but you bring up such a good point, Brandon, about the generational piece of it, and like. A lot of our folks, like my great grandparents, have talked about, they didn't finish school because they had to work.
Right.
Trying to work to feed the family and to just provide. And so I think for us, we are just now getting to a place, and we haven't caught up because of, the oppressive structures that we're still fighting. But yeah, it's a new, different thing for us. And I think during COVID, we've had, just like we said, be creative. I know something that we've started doing is we've instituted a, what is it called? Quiet hour in the house for Caden. And it is his time to be in his room with his door mostly shut, where he can have whatever he wants. Whatever he wants to do, he can have it. And we set the timer, and it's just quiet hour. Nobody talks to anybody. And I'm in my space doing my thing. Sean, that he's still working during the day, so he's doing his thing. And it has been going really, really well. And for us, that's radical because our son, as you all know, is very talkative and very interactive. So,
really?
Never knew. I
had
never
no
knew.
idea.
No. That's a good idea to do that amongst yourselves in the house. Like it was kind of unspoken, but now it's kind of become a thing now because Joel's very much an outdoors person. He wants to go outside, and all the time I don't go, but it doesn't mean I don't want to go be with him. It's kind of like our time to do something on our own. So, when he goes out, like he's out right now, he'll be back hopefully before this curfew hits. And I get to have some time by myself, doing something I want to do. And then he has some time by himself doing something that he wants to do. And we still did something together earlier today. So that was, again, another great form of self-care. Even though I think of self-care as laying in my bed all day on a Sunday. That's self-care for me.
Yes, if you can. If you can. So, y'all, how do y'all know? Because I think this is important to listen to our bodies, right? A lot of times we get overwhelmed and then we're like, oh crap, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? Like now that I've already hit rock bottom, so to speak. So how do we know when we need self-care? Is there...
Wait.
Oh, Brandon, do you have something to share?
I know when I need self-care is when I become very short with my kids. When I'm starting to yell, not to put my business all the way out there, but if my son or my daughter drops, a cup of water on the floor and I just start yelling, I know I need something because I shouldn't be yelling because they spilled a cup of water. I can get a cup of water up with a towel. It's not a big deal. So for me, yelling at that's sums up.
Mine's is when I feel depleted, like I need to recharge. Because I can kind of go. That's actually kind of been. I found that though I'm the person who says I don't want to do a lot of stuff, but I like to do a lot of stuff. Like I have my hands in a bunch of different pots and doing things all the time. But when I feel like exasperated, then I know I really need to take a break, reset, turn off everything, veg out in front of the TV, whatever that means, whatever it means to kind of just get my mind off of it for a while. So usually for me, that also means when something's not working, like when I'm working on editing a video or something and I can't figure it out, I need to take a break. I just need a minute to kind of just step away. And then after a couple hours or whatever, I come back, it just seems like things are working better. So I'm getting more so my frustrations are with like the inanimate objects that I'm working on, not necessarily on the people around me, but I'm getting frustrated with the things that I have my hands in, I guess.
I'm definitely with Brandon on that. When I start getting really short and frustrated and irritated about silly things, that's one piece of it. But for another one for me is very somatic. So I will start to feel like literally like pressure on my body, or I'll feel like there's a vice grip on my head or something like that. Like I'll just feel really tight right here. And well, that is another thing. If I get hangry, if I'm not eating, like seriously, that is when I know that I need to stop what I'm doing and just shift, just take a sharp left or right and do something different. And for me, lately, it's been getting outside. And I never want to. I feel like, no, I'm just going to sit right here and just dwell in this thing. But if I make myself get up and go outside and walk or something, then I'll feel better. And that's how I was feeling today. So that's why I went to the office.
Going outside is not self-care.
Well, yes, it is.
It is.
For me.
I say that, and I went outside yesterday for a lovely walk.
You were out there on the bridge.
Well, it's that time of year now. We've passed the hot season, so we're in the fall, which is when I love to be outside. So I don't mind it at all.
Nice outside too.
Yes, it's nice outside.
Our pool is still open out here, y'all.
Really?
Weirdly enough. Yeah, I'm not getting in it, but there's people over there.
I don't think mine ever open, but we can all go over Brandon's house and get in his backyard and get in his kiddie pools one at a time. We can all get in there.
Ava and Josiah will not let you get in there.
Okay. Well, forget it then.
I guarantee you that.
So I want to ask this one. I know we don't have a lot of time left, so we won't be able to hit all of the points on our sheet, but I want to maybe ask this as our final thought. How do we become proactive with our self-care?
I would say, like we were just talking about, recognizing the signs early. Don't get to that place where you are at your wit's end. Try to pay attention, because our bodies will tell us. If we listen, there are things that it will tell us that we are getting to that place. And I think that's different for different people. But like I said, for me, it's a somatic feeling. And for other people, it could just be like, maybe you're picking fights with folks that you normally wouldn't, or, more standoffish, or maybe you withdrawing or something like that. So for me, it's about seeing the signs beforehand, before I get depleted.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's actually maybe kind of a two-pronged approach. Maybe it's kind of having a habit of doing something. I'll speak for me and for myself and Tiff. The gym is pretty much a daily thing for us. And I know that's a big thing. I don't know what I do without the gym, without exercise.
I know what I do.
But I think too, you have to really be intentional with the scheduling of it. And depending on what your situation is, whether, because I think what you do and what you're able to do as a single person, a married person with kids, married person taking care of an older parent, I think all that stuff is different. I think you got to start taking it where you get it. For me, this weekend coming up, I'm going up to Cincinnati for my brother's for a vow renewal, and I got the hotel for the whole weekend. And instead of getting the hotel for Friday, and then after the renewal service, coming right back home, I'm gonna stay overnight again and get another good night of sleep. I think you gotta kind of take those things where you can as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So mine goes along with what Brandon was saying. I would say schedule it. I'm a big proponent of putting things on the schedule. I schedule the gym time, and somebody asked me before, like, don't you know you go to the gym every day? I was like, yeah, but if I don't put it on my calendar, I feel less inclined to go. I kind of feel like if it pops up on my calendar, I'm kind of prompted to have to do it. So, schedule that self-care for whether it be like going to the mall, whether it be this is the time I'm going to turn off everything and just relax and read a book. Put yourself on your schedule, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Put your time on the schedule as something as important. We put meetings on the schedule. We put all kinds of stuff on the schedule, but we never really put us on the schedule. So take the time to do something for yourself and make sure you just write it down. And it kind of helps with the commitment too. I feel like once you put it on something, visually where you can see it, it kind of lends you to it. Also, I would say set it as a goal. Every year I try to set personal goals for myself. And one of them is to spend more time doing things that I enjoy, which is a good thing, a form of self-care. So try to make it a goal to actually put yourself first. And you don't have to wait till January to do that. You can say, I'm putting myself first in the month of October, put myself first for the rest of 2020,
Mm-hmm. And I think something else I don't think we really touched on was that self-care doesn't have to be something that takes hours and hours. If you take a walk for 10 minutes a day, or you read, for 15 minutes, that's still self-care. It doesn't have to be, it's not this day-long thing. It can be if you have the time and space for that, wonderful. But if it's making sure you say, your prayers in the morning and write a journal entry, that's self-care too. So I think we have to get away from those misconceptions. And also, it's really important for us to model that for our loved ones. If you don't have kids, if you have other folks who are watching you, or even older folks, like older people who have this idea, this notion that you're being lazy or self-indulgent. No, maybe they'll see that you are producing even better when you've made space for yourself. So it's not weak to take self-care. It's not necessarily even pampering yourself. Yeah. It's just, it's not lazy. It's just it's fueling yourself, giving yourself fuel. And I'll also point to the article from last week. I won't read all the points, but hopefully we can put the insert in of the article that my friend Angela wrote about I think it was 9 different tips that were kind of tailored for what she called America's double pandemic, which is talking about COVID and also racial injustice. I think that those steps are really nice. And it also does have on there the importance of scheduling it and making it a habit, like what you all were talking about, is one of the pieces that were on there.
As a parent, self-care seems very selfish because your kids need attention a lot. But I'll be the first to tell you, and again, as much of a boss as my wife is at her job, she still takes care of things here at the house. And it's one of those things where it's always going to be easier. We talked about it earlier. It's always going to be a little bit easier for a man to do it. But I know that I am a better dad when I get a break from the kids. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They were with my mom, they were with their grandma or their Mia earlier today. So when I got off of work today, I had like an hour and a half, 2 hours to get stuff done at the house, eat, relax, watch a show. And so when they got home, it was easier for me to not react to every little thing that got on my nerves. Like it's not selfish at all. It'll make you a better person by just doing some a little self-care and really utilizing the resources that you have. Even if it's only a little bit of resource that you have, utilizing some of it's always going to be good.
And just one more, it could also just be scheduling appointments for yourself. Brandon talked about last week how he got new glasses or whatever. He was going to scheduled appointments that he hadn't done for himself in a while and whatnot. So even just doing that, like scheduling your annual physical or going to your dental checkup or getting new glasses or getting that, you've been having this crook in your neck forever. It's been bothering you. You've been wanting to see about it. Going to schedule those appointments to again, take care of yourself. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. It's just the fact that you're doing something that will take care of yourself. And again, as we have this, they said double. I'm gonna say triple because Trump is a pandemic all in itself. But
God, she is.
Yeah. As we have this triple pandemic, you gotta take time to take care of yourself for your. You know, we were talking a lot about your physical, and I think before COVID, we focused a lot on your physical body, but now it's like your mental health too. Sometimes even talking to somebody. As I said at the top of the show, these Corona times is a form of self-care because again, the stuff we go through all week long, and yes, we talk to each other and we talk to our spouses or whatever, but this is us getting to utilize our platform to hopefully educate somebody else. And there's something that just really feels, you know, wow, we're doing something not just to take care of ourselves, but to help maybe other people take care of themselves as well.
Yes. And it's radical and it's holistic. Self-care because it's all connected. So with that being said, we'll transition into self-care and what we're going to do for ourselves. What radical and holistic self-care practices are we going to implement this week? Y'all got anything?
Shoot, I'm already doing it. I'm going up and I've got my hotel.
That's true. You did say that, which I hate you for it. I'm very upset. I'm hating. In a very major way.
The funniest thing about that is I just know how washed up I am to be happy to get a hotel.
Not watched out.
No, washed up.
I'm washed up because you know what a hotel's like. Oh yeah, this is great. I'm gonna go out on a night on the town and I'm gonna do this.
You're gonna be asleep.
And I'm gonna be asleep, son.
Yes.
Straight
that
up.
Sounds
sprawled out across the bed, mouth open, sleep. You're gonna be knocked
out. No kids around. No nothing. Just sleep.
That sounds great.
Well, mine's is in the realm of Brandon's because I too am going to his brother's vow renewal, and I'm just looking forward to an opportunity to dress up and take pictures, and that's going to be self-care this weekend.
If you got me right.
Yep, we do photo shoot. We'll have fresh profile pictures next week, y'all. Y'all just watch.
I think the last probably 90% of my profile pictures from the last 5 years have been from me and Tiff's just impromptu photo shoots.
Yep. We like to
Brandon, I found another picture of the three of us from like 2000 and what was it, Tiffany? 2006 or 2008?
Whenever your dad's was it his 50th? Or it was at the place where everybody uses Elliot Place.
Elliot Place.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to throw it in the Corona times now, so y'all can see
it.
I don't know.
No,
it was a rough time.
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off. I'm gonna show it. Look.
Yo, I don't. For our views, I know we're rambling a little bit, whatever. I don't really think you all realize how far back the three of us go. Like. We go back like 20 years for real.
All the way back.
Easily.
And me and Tiffany from birth. I never met Tiffany. Remember. She was just there.
Just there. It's so funny. For each of us when we've gotten married or we've had Simone's had baby showers and we'll play these games like, well, when did you meet such and such? And we'll just be like, I don't know. I saw you in Sabbath school when we were like 2. I have no idea. You was just there.
Right. Just
of course,
there.
Brandon came along later,
Later.
Via transfers. He joined us and he just never left.
Via transfers. So for my self-care, I'm going to spend a little bit more time in the office this week because ain't nobody in there. And I can come in and out as I please and just be in my space. And then I'm going to continue reading my Mary Trump book because I'm just fascinated.
Well, so come and give us a report.
Man, it's just a big old conceptualization because for those who don't know, it's his niece who wrote the book and she's a psychologist. So that is it's fascinating. So yes, I will share it with y'all. But folks, take care of yourselves.
Yes.
Take care of yourselves. It's
Please.
not indulgent or lazy. Do what you got to do.
Yep.
Yep.
Wear your mask too.
Yeah. Wash
Yes.
your hands. And you know what?
Stay away from folks.
Yes, stay away from folks. And you know what? I'm no longer talking to Daniel Cameron, but it's still justice for Breonna Taylor in these corona times. Yep. So y'all
Yes,
take
it
care.
is.
We'll catch y'all next week. And you know, as always, we remain yours.
We remain yours.
You remain yours.
We out.